Yeah, let's do John on the Whole, which is a really odd, strange, interesting film. Not for everybody, but I've seen it a couple of times now, and it's got under my skin. It's by Pascual Sisto, who is a Spanish filmmaker and visual artist. It is adapted by Nicola Jacobon from his short story El Pozo, which I think means the well, but I may be wrong in that. And the story begins with a close-up on the face of 13-year-old John, played by Charlie Shotwell, and his teacher's asking him to tell him what the square root of 225 is, and he doesn't know. And she says, "Yes, you do." And he says, "I don't know." And she says, "Yes, you do." And then he says, "Oh, it's 15." She says, "How do you know?" And he says, "I don't know," which seems like an incidental scene, but it's actually setting up an awful lot of stuff in the film. We then cut to the family home, which is like a kind of fish tank home in a woodland area in which this sort of bourgeois family are living, all having their meals sort of rather distanced. And the central figure, John, is somebody who's difficult, asks weird questions like, why does the water in the swimming pool not feel like water? And how does it feel to do this? And how does it feel to do that? And he's got a kind of intensity about him, but also an effectless quality. He has a drone, and he discovers in the woods that there is a bunker, a half-built bunker that has then been abandoned. And he comes back to his mum and dad and said, "Hey, I found a bunker." Here's a clip.
I found the hole.
What?
The hole. On the other side of the trees.
The bunker, you mean?
You found the bunker?
What bunker?
The hole. The abandoned construction. That was supposed to be a bunker.
A bunker?
Mm-hmm.
What's a bunker?
Well, sometimes people, they build these underground homes.
Why?
In case something bad happens.
What they don't realise is that something bad is going to happen, because John wants to know what it's like to be an adult. He wants to know what it's like to be the man of the house. And in order to do that, he will have to put his family somewhere where they are out of the way. It's a really odd film. It played at Fright Fest and apparently went down rather well, although it's not just a horror film. It's a kind of psychological drama. The things that it reminded me of were Goodnight Mummy, the Austrian psychodrama. Certainly there's some of Michael Haneke's Benny's Video in this, in the way that the film looks, in the framing of everything, this kind of strange, clinical, rather sterile look to it. And then at the centre of it, you have this terrific central performance of a character who is quizzical but also insular, somebody who is almost looking at the people around him as if they're an alien race. He wants to know what things feel like, but he doesn't feel anything himself, as far as we can tell. So it's a really interesting look at a character who is, it's a coming of age story, but it's a coming of age story that is a very dark coming of age story. And also, fascinatingly, the story itself is framed within the context of being told as another story to another child that we only discover about half an hour into the film. So the whole thing comes about storytelling. So on the one hand, it's a Grimm's fairy tale. It takes place in the woods. There's a strange hole, there's abandoned parents, all that stuff. On the other hand, it's a kind of modern psychological thriller in the mould of Haneke. And as I said, Benny's Video is definitely in the background of all of this. It has an absolutely brilliant musical score. I mean, it's existing. Some of it is existing music by Caterina Barbieri. The sound is done by Nicola Becker, who of course did the brilliant sound design for Sound of Metal. And I was talking to him about the movie, which I watched just before I spoke to him, and he said that he was trying to get this thing about halfway between insects and mechanical sounds, and so much of the way the film feels is to do with the sound design. It's available on streaming services. It will be in some cinemas. Apparently it was due to be in more, but they're struggling to find screens because Bond is playing everywhere. But there will apparently be cinema screenings. So if you get the chance, worth seeing in the cinema. It's a very strange, odd, haunting little movie. Not for everyone, but for me, particularly with my interest in texts that are kind of border on horror and to do with children and adolescents, I found it kind of fascinating. Great performance by Jennifer Ehle, and Charlie Shotwell very good in the lead as John.